I am Dungeon Master, your guide in the realm of Dungeons and Dragons.
Hey guys, welcome back to the campaign. If you could, hit that like button real quick. So to start with, gotta do some experience. So I'm giving 1 experience to each of them for basically completing the wagon encounter, getting from the wilds to the church. I'm given 1 experience for the extra savings of citizens, saving the kid and saving the soldier and whoever else. That's one really important thing that I got to keep doing the random rolling based on what they're going through or what their experience is or their character background or whatever to make those decisions. But stuff like that can happen where they can get extra experience. So 1 for that, and then 1 for the undead slain. So we're looking at 3 experience for these guys. I'm not trying to do too slow of a campaign here, but not too fast of one either. So also, these guys are going to rest here overnight. The church will feed them so they don't have to eat a ration. And Thunderian gets to do one of his, he gets to choose a buff. Also, some of the soldiers that were out in the courtyard out there, or right outside the wall, have collected a couple items that they have brought in, and we are going to randomly roll them. So for my Shadowdark game, no matter what D&D I'm ever running, I always use treasure from all over the place. I use stuff from Pathfinder, I use stuff from 2nd edition, from ICRPG, several other sources. So we're gonna roll out some random loot here. We're gonna start with the mundane loot chart from ICRPG. I like using these charts because there's like some weird stuff in here. Oh, let's see, what are we gonna get? A 7. Okay, we get some mechanics tools. Hammer, spanner, bits and pieces make rolls easy on mechanical tasks. Cool. All right, next we're gonna do one from the weird items chart. Give it a roll and we get, geez, a 1. Well, there's rolling a 1 on a 100-sided dice for you. If anybody can do it, it's me. Okay, so this is really interesting. A translator tapeworm. It's an item. It increases your appetite. Speak and understand all spoken languages. Next, we'll go to Shadowdark. And the same, it's a 100-sided dice roll. We get a 85. A cracked emerald worth 60 gold. Look at that beauty. All right, let's go to the treasure section. Remember these charts for some of you older guys? I love these charts. All right, we're gonna start off 100-sided dice. What do we got? We got a 12. That's gonna bring us over to potions and oils. There's 3 charts, so we roll a d6, get a 3. Now we roll a d20, get a 19. An oil of slipperiness. You put it on your body and you can't be grabbed or wrapped up or caught in spider webs or anything like that. Simon turns toward the guard right there and says, "You fought bravely out there, friend. Got a name?" "They call me Ruckus." "Ruckus? Well, it was a pleasure fighting next to you. Might you join us?" Thunderian says, "Are you even gonna ask me, Mr. Good Guy who steals a cart?" There's some surprised chatter coming from the church elders over here. You hear like a, what? They're kind of whispering back and forth. Simon says, "We would not be alive if I didn't borrow that cart, Thunderian." So these 3, obviously not this guy, but the 3 women, they sort of have this strange way of speaking. Like they all speak kind of in unison. And when they talk, you can't really tell which one the voice comes from. It seems to echo all around. "Please, please, please." And it's all different sounds. "Yes, we are Mother Sansa. Sansa." Thunderian looks kind of like a dog that, like, when it hears something strange, it like turns its head to the side. Thunderian says, "So the world shakes and birds fall out of the sky?" The old gods are angry. Simon says, the old gods? Thundarian turns toward him and sort of like flares up like a peacock. The three speak in unison and they say, please, please, there's pressing matters. Yes, matters. Is this he? Yes. Yes, it's he. Thundarian. They're kind of pointing over toward Thundarian. He's the one who the sisters want dead? Yes. Yes, he is. Who is he who has brought so much evil with him? Yes. Has he changed? He has changed. We sense it. For now. Thundarian looks toward Simon. Simon, what is this? Simon says, they are one, Mother Sansa. And the sisters begin to speak again. We have sent the banner of the four lords. We have sent it to the graveyard, the place where the dead are born again. Yes, they are born again. Anton and his men, they have not returned. They have not came back. What do we do then, Mother? Speaking to all three of them as one. This night, you will rest. And when the sun rises, you will find the banners, and deliver it. Pray and ye will be blessed. You will be blessed, Simon. Find it. Find what is giving birth to the dead. Find Anton. Bring them home. Bring them back. So they send off a young boy into the church who takes about 15 minutes and then returns with 2 small vials. And Simon recognizes these as healing ointment or a healing potion. And he asks the sisters, is there any more than this? And they explain to him that Anton and crew took the other ones and that their stores are low. It's currently nightfall and everyone is going to go into the safety of the church and sleep for the night. We got to do Thundarian's boon. But I think I'm going to go with Odin, and that's gain 1d4 hit points every time you kill something. I just made this little standee that I will put nearby because I know I will forget that. So when they wake up the next morning, there is tons more undead all over outside the courtyard. Just sort of, they're not really causing too much trouble. They're just kind of lumbering around. Most of them, it's strange because these three have had a conversation about some of them have fire in their eyes and some of them don't, and they don't know what's causing that. Simon looks over toward Ruckus and says, are you sure you're ready for this? Damn right I'm ready. Thundarian just looks over at Ruckus and says, stay out of my way. Don't worry about me. The thing that they've noticed, that meteorite that was flying across the sky, has kind of changed direction. It's swung to the left a little bit. Thundarian took the oil of slipperiness and one of the healing potions. Simon took the translator tapeworm and a potion of healing, and they decided to give Ruckus the mechanics tools to hold on to. Ruckus also wanted one of the healing potions, but they ended up giving him a cracked emerald, and that kind of shut him up. The next morning, we armored up the carriage, the horse and carriage that we got, just kind of piecemealed some armor together in order to get us to the graveyard. And then we had some of the church patrons basically run through here and drop us off, and they just kind of kept going as we jumped out of the cart. So as we got closer to the graveyard, the damage to the housing and the roads seemed apparently worse. We traveled through several sections of graveyard, and finally this one is the final one before the ancient part of the graveyard back there. And in the center of this one is a shrine to the four lords. As we make our way through the gate and start to head toward the shrine, you can see that parts of this graveyard have been uprooted as the earth has been moved by the earthquake. So in other words, some of these caskets are up off the ground, almost like on little hills of dirt where the earth has been jostled. But Thunderian says to Simon, "So what's this banner supposed to do? Grant us holy powers?" And Simon looks toward him and says, "Yes," and passes Thunderian, walking to the shrine. Thunderian looks over at Ruckus with just like a baffled, surprised face. They just about reach the shrine and we have to roll something. In this particular area, we're gonna roll a random encounter. If I get a 1, no. So throughout Zexia, there's all different shrines that the characters of different classes can pray to or worship at and perhaps get a boon. Simon gets on his knees and begins a prayer. He lit up some of these candles in there. And Thunderian and Ruckus just kind of explore around, and they don't seem to find any threats in the area. Simon's basically going to make a religion check here. It's a normal one. So the DC is 12, and he has +2. He is going to fail. "I'm not getting any connection," says Simon. "It feels like this place has been desecrated." "I don't pray to no statue," says Ruckus. And Thunderian says, "All right, hurry up." If he would have prayed successfully, he would have got a luck token. As we pass through this ancient, rusted out gate that creaks open as the doors swing wide, we are in the oldest part of the cemetery at this point. It's a lot bigger than Thunderian thought it was going to be in here. The earthquake really seems like it took its biggest toll in this area. There's big sections of the earth that have lifted out of the ground, making the terrain all uneven. Some of them have mausoleums and tombs at the top of them, where they just ripped, the earth just ripped straight up from the ground. Thunderian says, "I don't like the looks." Shh, shh, did you hear that? Did you hear it? And Ruckus just completely cuts Thunderian's sentence in half and interrupts him and like shushes everybody. And both of them just kind of look over at Ruckus, and then like a couple seconds go by and nothing happens. As we wind around the corner, we do start to hear something. And down there in the distance is a younger guy that's an acolyte in the church. And Simon immediately recognizes him and just says, "Tommy." And Tommy is running toward us. And he's yelling some sort of warning. And we can't make out what he's saying, but he gets to about right there. And suddenly a skeletal arm reaches out of that mausoleum right there and grabs him by the neck and yanks him and pulls him in. We make it up to about right here, and you can hear screams of agony inside of this place. And then it just goes silent. All right, so I got to roll a D6 and see what this guy was talking about. Gets a 2. Once we realize that we're not going to make it to the mausoleum, that it's too late, everybody just kind of stops here in the middle of the graveyard, just like palely staring at each other. Simon says, "He spoke of something large up ahead." "Yeah, that's what I heard too. Something big." As we're talking, we can start to hear a loud scream coming from up in this mausoleum. Thunderian's going to double move this way. Everybody's going to double move up to about here. We arrive to see a pretty strange sight, and it's another dog that has clearly been dead, and it's sitting here eating a pile of gore that looks like a recently killed civilian. And up here at the mausoleum is a horse. It looks like it's undead as well. You can't really tell if it's a zombie or a skeleton because its sides are ripped off, exposing the rib cage, and stuff is just like gooing out of it all over. But it's trying to bite at the bars on the mausoleum. And you can hear somebody inside saying, "Help! Help me! Help!" Initiative. I didn't pre-roll initiative today, so we'll go undead. They get a 10. Thundarian, it's got +1. It's 14. Simon's got +1. That's a 3. Ruckus's first roll. He's got the worst dexterity ever of 7. It was worse. It was 5, but I put a talent into it. So he's at -2. 16. He still gets the highest. His first roll. So real quick, Ruckus is just a fighter. His grit is for strength. His weapon mastery is for longsword. And he's basically here to haul stuff and fight. Ruckus lunges forward to about right here, and as he's walking, he pulls out his short bow and takes a shot. Dog's got an AC of 12. Ruckus has -2 because of his dexterity. No, he's gonna miss. Thundarian kind of does the same thing. He moves to about right there and then takes a shot up at that horse with his longbow. Horse has AC 11. He's got +1. That's gonna be a hit. 3 damage. As the dog eats from this pile of gore, it looks up toward Thundarian and Ruckus, and as it swallows the food, it kind of drops out a hole in its gut down below through the rib cage and onto the ground. It's trying to decide if it wants Thundarian or Ruckus. Evens Thundarian. That's odd. He's going to go after Ruckus. It turns and charges Ruckus. Ruckus has a super crappy armor class because of his dexterity. Plus, he's wearing leather armor currently, but he specializes in chainmail. Dog's got +2 on the bite. Wow, that's a hit. He bites Ruckus for 2 damage. As the creature chomps down on his leg, he feels the pressure of the bite, but he also feels like a sizzling pain, and he's got to make a save versus poison. He's got to make a DC 12 Constitution save, but he's got +3 to his Constitution. That is a miss. Ruckus immediately gets sick to his stomach feeling, and he's going to be fighting at disadvantage. We will just mark that. Thundarian lets loose an arrow, and it buzzes right between the legs of the undead horse. It turns and slowly looks at him, and it's missing its eye right here, and it just jumps off to attack Thundarian. As soon as it hits the ground, it turns around and bucks at Thundarian. He has +3, and Thundarian has a 12 AC. It's a miss. Thundarian yells towards Simon, "Pull out your symbol." Simon says, "No, we must destroy them." Simon's going to cast Shield of Faith on himself for a +2 AC bonus. The tier is 10 + 1, so that's 11, and he's got +2 because of his wisdom. That's going to do it. We can mark that. And Simon's going to move up to here and then over to here, so these two can get combat advantage. Ruckus just got bit by this thing's poisonous undead bite, and it gives him disadvantage, so he's going to try to basically bring the sword down and stick it through the dog's neck. He has +2, but it's disadvantage, so we take the lower one. That's going to be 5, and that's going to be a miss. Thundarian's got advantage on the horse. He's going to use 2 hands for his great axe. He's got +1. Oh, that's natural. That's a critical because of my talent. I do criticals old school, just double damage. So check it out. 14 damage, Thundarian. With a slash across the neck of this thing from the 2-handed axe, it just eviscerates the neck of the horse, and all of this goo and guts and things that it's been eating alive just puke out onto the ground from its neck. The horse just collapses on its side. Once it slumps to the ground, Thundarian and Simon are just left staring at each other. Very nice work, my friend. But I think our companion behind you needs some help. They both turn around and look at him, and he's just like, when you see like a you know, like a Rottweiler or a pit bull attached to somebody and they're just kind of dragging it around. That's what's happening back here. Real quick, I have to roll to see how long he's at disadvantage for. So 2 and 4, 6 rounds. This round it'll be 5. All right, the dog is gonna try to bite him again. 9 plus 2 is 11. With Ruckus's terrible armor, that's gonna be a hit. 2 damage for Ruckus. I've got to roll for a random during this situation because anytime anything's going on in the graveyard, we're gonna be rolling for randoms. Nope. Ruckus has +2, but he's at disadvantage. Takes a swing on the dog. That's 7. That's gonna miss. Ruckus has sort of drugged the dog all the way over here to the center. Thunderian's gonna move up with advantage and take a swing. Advantage because they're flanking. Got +1. It's gonna be 12. That hits right on. 10 damage. 1 hit each. Thunderian took down the horse and now took down the dog. Thunderian hammers down with the axe into the back of this thing, and Ruckus is just splattered with blood and guts all over his face and chest. Thunderian just gives him a little smile to let him know that he doesn't like him, and the same fate could be his. Because Thunderian prayed to Odin last night, he would have got plus 1d4 times 2 hit points for killing both of them, but he was at full hit points. They just ran through this encounter. A man probably in his late 70s, rough clothes, sort of dirty, looks like he works in dirt, steps out of the mausoleum and says, "Oh, thank you, thank you. My grandparents are buried here and I'm not giving it up." And Simon says, "What are you doing in there?" "Well, I locked myself in here when they came alive. Ever since the earthquake," he said, "I've been observing them from inside." "What have you seen?" "Friends, family, creatures, beasts like the horse, all raising from the dead. I don't know what it is. I saw some dark elves coming in and out on horseback as well, over by that banner." Simon says, "Banner?" From up at this high point, Simon turns around and can see the glory of the banner hanging there. And at first he's excited because he thinks like, they made it. Anton's crew must have made it. But then things begin to turn a little bit more sinister as he realizes that the statue is destroyed and desecrated. As he focuses in and kind of squints his eyes, he can see a skeleton that's been hung up next to the banner. It's wearing what he remembers Anton would wear. And the creepiest part about this entire thing is the skeleton is moving. Simon calls down to the boys, "Thunderian, I've spotted the banner." At this moment, they begin to hear the sound of lots of horses. From around that corner down there comes a heavily armored coach that is being led by 4 pure black horses. It makes its way around here and stops just for a moment in this area, and a voice can be heard from inside the carriage. "Thunderian, come and see me. I have a gift for you." There's a loud crashing sound as a cage is dropped off the back of the carriage. Everybody can kind of see that there's some people inside of it, and the carriage speeds off, and through this gate over here, Simon says, "They called for you, Thunderian. Who was that?" Thunderian looks up towards Simon and says, "It was Wraith. Darkfoot. He killed my friends." The cage is violently rattling in the distance. And they all make their way over to it. As Thunderian starts to make his way toward the cage, his anxiety begins to heighten because inside of the cage is Rapture, Tabitha, and Javen. Undead versions of themselves just sort of running into the wall of the cage and into each other, making horrific sounds of the dead. "No!" The mausoleum door adjacent to them begins to creak and crack and slide open as a very large abomination makes its way out to kill the party. It drags these long, rusty chains behind its body, and further inspection reveals from the elbow down, the chains are connected to the arms of this creature. It has no eyes in its sockets.